All right, guys. Pre-show meeting. Obviously, NASCAR decide, or not even NASCAR. Legacy Motor Club drops a bomb on us that they're suing another team over a charter. So we're gonna have to talk about that first. But obviously, Martinsville, whatever that S show was, the Xfinity Series. We're gonna have to. Where is Massey? Have you heard from him, Dalton?
I haven't heard from him in like a couple days, honestly, like 2
He was
days.
pretty upset on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, do you blame him? I mean, his idol has been tied by Denny Hamlin.
That's true.
Well, now I wouldn't even say hit tied. I'd say surpassed in terms of legacy.
I think that's arguable. You could argue that, yeah.
Rusty's still got a title.
Good news is we'll talk about that in the show. But but this is why we had the pre-show meeting. We're working out the kinks. Got Caleb obviously in the background. Oh, this is him. Okay.
Oh, great.
Hello. Excuse me. Hello? Yeah. What? You're quitting? You're tired of this Denny Hamlin rhetoric against Rusty Wallace? You're standing up for Rusty Wallace by quitting this podcast. You what? Luke Combs got a record deal too? What? So you're just quitting. You're done. This is how you're quitting. We're about to be on the air. Like this is the time we go on each week. I can't talk right now. Okay, I got to go on the air. Bye. He quit. Okay, we just got to play the intro. Caleb, you have to fill in.
Is Caleb going to sing?
No.
Yeah, we need a new singer now, I guess.
Yeah, we do. But let's play the intro and get this podcast started. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry if I'm flustered. If just to break some bad news, we're going to get this out of the way. Michael Massey has decided to quit this podcast. He has decided to quit. He is a quitter. He's a big old quitter. Okay, he is starting his own music career as Puke Combs. Apparently, enough people have come up to him where he believes it. So he's going to make fake music. He hasn't even made a LeBron song yet. So, that's, I guess, what's next for him. But luckily, Caleb is gladly stepping in at Caleb Barnes _ is here. Obviously, of course. No song.
We'll work on that, Caleb.
Starting next week, Caleb Barnes will be performing live outside of a Long John Silver's to begin his musical career here on the Happy Hour podcast. We're going to talk about that in 1 second. That reminds me of something from last week. Dalton Hopkins here as well at Pit Lane CPT. And the grumpy old man, Mike Neff, is here as well, who is going to be our guest. And I from the bottom of my heart, Neff, I'm sorry that you had to see that in the pre-show meeting where Massey quit on us. And it's a shame. I had to text Tom, and he's upset by it. And there's
I've got my fingers crossed that means they're going to pull his credential for Rockingham so I can get in, because there's only 2 credentials allowed at Rockingham, and Massey had one of them. So,
I did send a note to Brian Nolan. Just hopefully Brian Nolan will understand my influence and swap that out.
I think Massey's going to be the pre-race. He's going to be the pre-race entertainment. I think he's a concert now at Rockingham.
He's a singer now. He's not a writer. He's a singer. He's a singer. He's a songwriter.
I heard he got a record with the IndyCar. He might be singing over there. Is that what?
Yeah, he's gonna be singing back home in Indiana
for the Indianapolis 500.
For the Indy 500, yeah, he's the new one.
Good for him. You know what? Good for him. Good for him. But before we begin, Caleb, you were gone last week. You were not here. And how was your Long John Silver's cruise?
It was great. Just got to support my Kentucky companies. Found out Long John Silver's is based out of Kentucky, so had to go on a cruise, eat some fish, see how it's all done, and it was a dream. I think I single-handedly funded the Zane Smith sponsorship last week. So I think that's how that went.
Someone made a TikTok reacting to the race saying, "How is Long John Silver still in business?" And I was like, "Buddy, you need to meet my good friend Caleb Barnes, and you would find out."
Yeah, he's the sole reason they're still in business.
So,
wait, Caleb, were you actually on a Long John? I know there's no way, but like, I don't know if that's the thing that exists.
Wait a minute. Eric asked this question last week, and I already said no.
Oh, okay. I don't remember.
Remember, I had to explain the whole Long John Silver's joke.
My memory is absolutely.
Come on, Dalton.
I've killed too many brain cells, but I remember that was a joke last week. I didn't know where we went with it.
See, I'm good at keeping tabs on the jokes we keep on this podcast. All right, but yeah, so leave in the comments your best Michael Massey memory in the Front Stretch Garage. We are now also on Twitch. Apparently we can live stream on Twitch. So I've added that. So we're also live streaming on the Front Stretch Twitch page. Apparently Front Stretch has one of those. Or on the Front Stretch YouTube page.
We have a Front Stretch Twitch page?
Do you know what Twitch is?
I know what Twitch is. I did not know we had a Front Stretch Twitch page.
Yeah, I don't know who plays video games in Front Stretch, like streams them, but apparently
we can find someone. I know a guy.
NASCAR 25 coming up.
I mean, I play video games. I mean, I'm currently in my 2021 or NASCAR Heat 5, whatever the fifth version is, career mode, and I own an Xfinity team, and I'm about to win the titles.
Racing rig right there.
Mine's in the other room, but we're getting off the point. So, as always, sit back, relax. So we were going to talk about a lot of things. We were going to talk about the Xfinity Series. We're going to talk about, obviously, our title, Sammy Smith. We were going to talk about Denny Hamlin and his future, and also mention if he is actually better than Rusty Wallace, hence why Massey quit, because his love for Rusty Wallace is just too strong. I think he's actually going to go on find Rusty Wallace and just tell him, pray to him. Like, that might be part of why he quit, and part of it is a music career. I don't know. He seemed out of it when he was on the phone. I can't even describe the phone. Like, I'm so lost. No wonder this sucked. What were you saying?
Well, did he sound like he was crying? He might have been crying.
He was. Remember, I do remember. I will never forget the moment at Bristol when he made out with the Rusty Wallace sign in the media center. I mean,
that was a little uncomfortable for a lot of people. I'm surprised they gave him a hard card after that.
It was just a moment, and I can't wait to tell I can't wait to tell our next guest, our guest next week, that story. who I'll tease it till the end. Who may have a personal connection to Rusty Wallace. We'll tease it like that. Which that's another reason why I'm shocked he quit, because of what we have playing next week. But I guess your first love dies strong. So, all right. So, as mentioned, we were going to talk about a lot of things. And then Jordan Bianchi's like, pause. We're not doing that, boys. Swerve. And breaks some news. Legacy Motor Club. So, we have another lawsuit. Legacy Motor Club is suing Rick Ware Racing over a alleged charter sale agreement that Rick Ware pulled out of. Now, Dalton, you got to read a couple of the details of the lawsuit, so I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna toss the ball over here, and to you, my friend, and you explain to me. Throw the lob, as it is March. Well, it's April, but this is the Final Four is this weekend, and
go Gators.
Go Gators! I picked them to win the national title, so I'm right with you, boy. And but explain to me, like, what's being alleged? What's the sitch?
Yeah, so you can check this out. Check out a little bit more detail on our frontstretch.com, on our page on frontstretch.com. We just released an article on it. Some details that came out. I actually got the court document right in front of me right now, so I'll fill you in on the preamble of it. Basically, Legacy Motor Club was looking to expand from a 2-car charter team to a 3 charter team in 2026, and they were looking to purchase a charter from Rick Ware Racing. And that apparently was done on March 3rd. And apparently, now I'm going to start reading up the document here. Despite having a binding deal in place, Rick Ware Racing wants to back out. It has told Legacy that it will not, under any circumstances, close the party's transaction. Legacy has tried to talk sense into RWR, but to no avail. Legacy's patience has run out. It now brings this suit to enforce its rights and hold RWR to its deal. Legacy and RWR executed their agreement on March 3rd, 2025. Not only did the parties sign the agreement, they initiated every page for good measure. Indeed, the parties' agreement has been clear from almost the beginning of the parties' negotiations. That is verbatim what the court document says.
So 2 questions that I have, and then we can talk about this. One, this happened a month ago. Like, this has happened less than a month ago, and it's broken down. So that's clear, March 3rd, as you mentioned. But the bigger question is, does it say, would it be for the 15 charter, or what in sense is the charter that is currently being loaned out to RFK for the 60? Because that could mean two very different things, because we are coming off a weekend where the best performing RFK car this season currently occupies that charter in the 60 car in Ryan Preece.
Yeah, it says right here, so it doesn't specify which one. All it says is Legacy learned that a charter owned by Rick Ware Racing, led by its owner and former driver Rick Ware, was on the market for purchase, it says this verbatim, strapped for cash and unable to compete at a Cup Series level. By its own admission, Rick Ware Racing needed to sell one of its 2 charters. That's all it says. It does not specify which specific charter was it being negotiated.
So, okay. It doesn't say which one for sure. And I'm going to go see, I'm going to look up Jordan's reporting since he broke the story to see if he says exactly which charter. So it would transfer.
You got to think that Rick Ware has another team that has come to him saying, "Hey, we're interested in this too. We'll give you more than Legacy's offering." That's the only logical reason of why they would back out of this deal.
Actually, I have a logical reason. So, according to Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic, reading his article, that Rick Ware was under the understanding that the deal would go in effect in 2027, while Legacy thought it was 2026. So they basically made the agreement thinking it was 2027 when the deal would go into effect, but Legacy changed it to 2026, aka next year, and that's when we had this quote-unquote dispute. So this is a dispute not over, I guess, the sale of the charter, of when the sale would occur. When
it goes into effect.
When it would go into effect. And basically, I would assume...
That should be pretty obvious from the paperwork they signed.
Yeah, but Rick Ware feels like they were led astray, thinking, "Oh, we'll execute this in 27," which would give essentially, I'm assuming this is the second charter. They're not going to give up on their Cup team if they're using the quote "strap for cash" for a Cup team. Like, that seems to me like, okay, they want to keep Cup racing. They're just going to get rid of the other charter. This would be essentially the RFK charter, and since they have an alliance with RFK. They didn't want to screw over RFK, so they wanted to give them 2 years to find a charter. Is my basic understanding. But Caleb, you haven't said anything yet. What do you think?
Still trying to figure out.
You've been dealing with these lawsuits.
Yeah,
this is like PTSD for you.
Yeah. Here comes another article that you're gonna have to write every week. Here's what happened this week between RWR and Legacy.
I know. Yeah. So Samuel, just for context, Samuel Stubbs and I have been kind of alternating, taking turns, filling in like the updates on the 2311 FRM lawsuit against NASCAR. Also about charters, a little bit different of a situation, but some of the same language was used with injunctions and one entity being enjoined to other things and all sorts of things. But I'm still trying to kind of figure out what to make of this, because I have a hard time. Rick Ware Racing would go into charter negotiations with the intent of getting rid of that RFK charter, even if they did think it was in 2027. And that's been part of the cases of some of the like front row 2311 stuff, is just how expensive it is to run a Cup team. And like I could see Rick Ware Racing maybe looking to because I mean he's involved in all sorts of different motorsports and outside of the Cup side of things, and I mean they've shown improvement from like they were the butt of every single joke back in like 2020, 2021, whatever, and the last year or two I feel like they haven't been like making fools on the racetrack every week, and they've had some solid runs the last couple of years, but yeah, that's kind of just. I was able to find the documents too, and it looks like the negotiations started back like the start of January, and as Dalton mentioned, like a month ago. And I'm also kind of surprised Legacy took action so quickly about it. I guess that's the other thing that's surprising to me too, that it's like only a month down the road, which I guess the years go by quickly, and the season next silly season starts soon, and as early as it is in the year. But I am kind of surprised that like already it's just a month out, and they're like, oh, April, we got to file this extra lawsuit now.
So I do wonder, my guess is it takes so much to get that third. Like they sort of have the makings of a third Cup team because Jimmy runs a couple races, but like to do a full-time third Cup team, it does take some time to assemble. And I think that's why they executed it so early. And maybe, from a cost point of view, Rick Ware just needs the money this season to, function. We don't know that. But as Dalton mentioned, it's unclear like the exact charter. It could be the one they currently run. It could be the one with RFK. This also, you're right, could be a really good sticking point for FRM in 2311. They're like a sneaky winner in this, being like, see, the current business model in NASCAR is not benefiting teams fully. So that's a sneaky winner maybe in all of this. Like all of this, it's going to get ugly before it gets good. It would be interesting to see if, like at Darlington, Cody Ware accidentally wrecks John Hunter Nemechek or the other way around. Like that would be of course, like there is going to be a moment now this season where the 15 is side by side with either the 43 or the 42, like, or the 01, or when Corey LaJoie races for Rick Ware. This is going to be interesting. I don't think we've seen anything like this, like a suing over the sale of a charter. I don't remember if we've seen something like this yet with this. I mean, the only example I can think of recent memory, Will is ready. Will thinks John Hunter Nemechek will handle it himself. We'll see. But in sports, we've seen this. So recently, the Minnesota Timberwolves in basketball, and this is not a like for like thing, but if we were going to treat charters like teams, well, there is a lawsuit between the Mark Laurie, Alex Rodriguez group versus the Glenn Taylor group, where basically one side was alleging that Glenn Taylor was trying to back out of the sale, where the other side was saying, well, you weren't paying on time. And then ultimately ends up with the guys buying the team, Mark Laurie and Alex Rodriguez, winning that lawsuit. So I wonder, will this be a similar thing where it ends up with Legacy, winning the suit and having the team in 26? So I think it's going to come down to, like, in the suit, which team gets it in 26 or 27. So I feel like Legacy Motor Club will be a 3-car team within the next 2 years. I feel pretty confident in that now. That's like another takeaway. What else do you think about this, Neff?
If anything, you're wondering what is the end game. Like you said, we've got 2 legacy cars. Are we really trying to get to a third? But I think the greater question is, did Rick Ware get an offer from somebody else? Did RFK come in and say, hey, we ultimately want to buy this thing, so don't go selling it out from underneath us? And like you said, Rick Ware doesn't want to cut off their nose to spite their face because they have an agreement with RFK. I'm amazed that you sign a piece of paper for an agreement and within a month you're confused over the terms. That's the part I'm like, somewhere on that piece of paper has to be an effective date. I mean, it's a contract. So that's the part I really would like to see, is if we can actually find the contract to be like, what is the effective date? Because that's what this all comes down to. What's the effective date that they sign?
To be fair, like 95% of that document is just like
redacted,
sealed. There's nothing. I think my other biggest takeaway is just seeing Legacy trying to expand to a 3-car full-time team. I'm assuming that's what that's meaning, unless they're trying to also. I don't know what else they could be trying to do, but I mean that again, you're just seeing more and more teams. We don't have the single car teams like we used to, and there's really the 47 car would be the only one outside of that, because Rick Ware is kind of a 1-car part-time 2-car team, and then I mean the 21 car kind of go either way on that, but really
I was going to say that, but basically a Penske car,
yeah.
A small single car team is handling a Penske car is the best way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to the main event. So shout out to Legacy Motor Club for taking up essentially the first 20 minutes of our podcast because they decided to sue about an hour before we were supposed to be on the air.
Well, Michael Massey took up like the first 8 since he quit. So
yeah, he did. That did throw me off. Reminder: if you're just now joining us, Michael Massey quit. Yeah. So at @M_Massey, you know what? Do something right now. At @M_Massey 22, just in all caps, say you're a quitter. You're a quitter. Just blow up his mentions for us, please. All right.
Neff, and feel free to mention something about Rusty Wallace sucks.
Yeah, mention Denny Hamlin is better than Rusty Wallace. Yep. Please mention that as well. Mike, so we're going to take the Xfinity talk into 2 parts. We'll get to the Sammy Smith part in a second, but let's do the part as you described before you the Jackals as they raced. As you texted to me.
It's supposed to be jackass. Autocorrect.
I know. See, Wyatt understands. Shout out to Wyatt right here. # Massey is a quitter. He knows what's up.
Nice. Let's get that trending. Can we get that trending on X? That would be amazing.
We can only hope. But Neff, overall, just I'll let you start on what you saw on Saturday. Before we even talk about the punishment for Sammy Smith.
Right. What I saw on Saturday is what the Xfinity series has devolved to. And it's something that Kevin Harvick mentioned it some on his podcast. And I just, in the day, you used to have guys that ran Xfinity all the time. Pretty much Justin Allgaier is your only real full-time, all-the-time Xfinity driver these days.
You're talking about Cup guys running Xfinity.
No, I'm talking about Justin Allgaier is an Xfinity driver. Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
He's jumped up there, but for the most part, he's a full-time Xfinity guy and has been for a long time. You used to have guys, and I'm going to go way back, Sam R., Jack Ingram, Tommy Houston, guys like that, that was their livelihood. Randy LaJoy, that was his livelihood. He was an Xfinity driver. Jeff Green, I mean, there's a bunch of them. So those gentlemen were the experienced guys in Xfinity, and they handled the rookie meetings. But not only that, they also went and would talk to these rookies when rookie mistakes were made and point out to them what was wrong, what they need to do right, things like that. At the same time, you also had the big red trailer. And if people did situations, not just like Sammy did, there were half a dozen to a dozen situations on Saturday of guys just wrecking people. And the problem is there's no accountability for it. And you used to get called into the trailer, even not getting suspended. A lot of guys used to go in the trailer, and Mike Helton would sit down and explain to them, to the old Bill France quote, "We'll keep running races if you're not here. So if you don't get your act together, you won't be here, but Xfinity will still be running." These days, nobody is sitting down with them like that. And no experienced driver is pulling them aside and going, "Look, dude, you are screwing up. That is not how you race." And, Kevin Harvick was saying on his podcast, if he sees Keelan drive like that, he's going to point out to him that that's not how you do this. and probably pull them out of the car for a week or two and make him realize how you race. Right now, you've got these people that are just they've come from the INEX $25 bumper bar. You wreck people, the bumper bar gets bent up, you spend $25 to get a new one, and you go back at it. There's no greater accountability. And at the Xfinity level, you're one step from Cup. You need to drive not only with some common sense, but respect. And the problem is there's no respect in that series, and there's nobody technically that's policing respect. And that's where I think we need somebody, and I don't want to lump all this on Justin Allgaier, but we need somebody, whether it's the new commissioner, whether it's the new president, to sit these guys down after a race like Saturday and be like, look, this is not how we race. If you choose to keep racing like this, I suggest you go somewhere else because you won't be running in our series.
Yeah, I mostly agree with everything that Mike said. I think there's I want to revisit that point when we start talking about the second part of this topic. It's gonna be Sammy Smith, of course, but when we talk about the second topic, after this, but I've noticed a pattern, kind of like what Mike was saying before at the beginning, which was this is kind of what the Xfinity Series has devolved into, and this has been something that's really been going on for a while. This is the writing on the wall, right? And what's really the most fascinating thing about this to me is all this time, for the last about 3-4 years or so, we've been talking about how the Truck Series is just degenerated into this crash fest, demolition derby every single week. It's just no respect, just a bunch of kids wrecking race trucks. I mean, I released an article 2 weeks ago, or it might have been last week, on Mike Skinner, or 2 weeks ago, on Mike Skinner, and that's exactly what he was saying, is that's the problem with the Truck Series nowadays, is that a lot of the kids, they don't really grow up and have to learn the respect they need to learn to run well in the Truck Series and take care of their equipment and take care of their stuff and run with a type of etiquette that you don't just flat out wreck somebody in the last lap. And the funniest thing about that is that the Truck Series right now, I'm not saying it hasn't been aggressive, but they're 18 straight races without an overtime restart.
Can I add something to that?
What's up, Trey?
And this was going to be the point that I was going to bring up, and it's just a perfect kind of transition to it. I think a big reason why we're seeing it, so we saw the issue in the Truck Series, which culminated in that, obviously, championship race where Corey Heim essentially cost Grant Enfinger a championship, the Carson Hocevar, Corey Heim debacle. Mm-hmm. Well, where are most of those guys that were quote-unquote causing issues in the Truck Series? They're now in the Xfinity Series. Like, they just graduated. They are now... Not all of them. None
of the guys you just mentioned are actually in the Xfinity Series. But you're right, though. That's actually... No,
my point is
the next thing that I was going to bring up. Yeah.
The collection of them. Like, I'm like Christian Eckes, Daniel Dye, who were two guys involved in stuff this past weekend. Mm-hmm. Sammy Smith, I think, to a lesser degree, he went like straight from ARCA to Xfinity. Austin Hill was in the Truck Series when these issues were happening. Sheldon Creed was in the Truck Series when these issues were happening. Sam Mayer had truck starts, and obviously, you could also throw the ARCA stuff in there too. Like, these guys are now in this. It's like we're slowly seeing the body decay, and now it's at the middle point, and we're afraid it's going to get to the head, which is the Cup Series. And I don't think it will. I really don't. I have faith that there will be enough. There are enough veterans in the Cup Series. But a big problem, and the decline in this, has been when they limited the Xfinity, the Cup guys doing Xfinity races. Kyle Busch ain't racing there anymore. He's just not. You don't have a Carl Edwards, you don't have a Kevin Harvick, which they're retired, but you don't even have Brad do races anymore. So it's just, like the only time a true vet, like an old school vet, is when Dale Jr. would do his one-offs, and he's not even doing that anymore. And I don't want to dunk on Justin Allgaier, but like Justin Allgaier, is that supposed to be the elder statesman? But like, you also need an elder statesman that could like kick your ass.
Yeah.
And no offense to Justin Allgaier, he can't. He's just
Can't kick
not.
anybody's ass.
He's smart. He is smaller than me. And no offense, he's also a super great dude, and he's a great person to be a mentor. Like, look at all the they're a big reason for JRM's success with young drivers, I think, is attributed to obviously Josh Berry with the late model stuff, and then Justin Allgaier in the Xfinity Series. And I don't want to discredit that. I think Justin Allgaier is good for the Xfinity Series in a lot of ways. But sometimes there needs to be like that step above. There needs to be the Kevin Harvicks of the world, the insert scary driver person, who, can, if needed to, can, you basically need it. What the Xfinity Series needs to do is just like somehow combine Austin Hill and Justin Allgaier from take Austin Hill's body and like Justin Hill's Justin Allgaier's like head and personality and like combine them, and it'd be perfect. Because notice, Mike Snyder has not effed with Austin Hill.
I was gonna say Austin Hill is kind of like he's kind of that guy. Like
but here's the thing: he's part of the problem.
Let's
be real here.
By the way.
Let's be real here. Who caused that big wreck at the end of the race? It wasn't the guy that got the penalty. It was Austin Hill. He caused the wreck at the end.
Mm-hmm.
He pushed the 7 into the 8 that caused the big wreck at the end. Like, which I don't fully fault. Like, I think what the 21 was trying to do was just move the 7 out of the way, like a bump and run. It's just with the mayhem, like I described this, what was it, on during post-race conversation? The 8 to the 54 was the cause of another cause, which was the 21 into the 7. That was the effect of the big wreck, if that makes sense. So like it was a chain reaction. So the 21's at fault because it caused the big wreck. But if the 8 and the 54 thing doesn't happen, then the 21 and the 7 and the big wreck doesn't happen. So I don't fully fault Austin Hill. But he still has had these moments in the Xfinity Series where he'll do something and then it's done to him and he'll cry foul like it's the worst thing in the world.
I was just going to say, what he did looked an awful lot like what Sheldon Creed did to him.
So, hey, I'm glad Sheldon Creed did that because they play that highlight a lot during these Xfinity broadcasts, and your boy gets some airtime. So I appreciate it.
Well, and I want to jump into, Trey, you're talking about the truck series, and that series actually has quite an influx of veteran leadership, I would say, this year. If you look at all the winners, it's all guys that have like 3+ years of experience in NASCAR, the top series, because Corey Heim, Kyle Busch won that Atlanta race, Kyle Larson won Homestead, and then Daniel Hemrick, and I guess that was technically Hemrick's first truck win, but he's had multiple years of experience in trucks and cups and Xfinity. And so like all these guys, and some of those guys have been making part-time starts, but then even you start to go down the list of some of the other drivers. And there are some new faces in the truck series, but quite a few of these guys are drivers who have been in the truck series for 2, 3, 4 years now, whether they've been making part-time starts or are full-time. And I think they've kind of seen and learned from some of that, as well as having some of this influx of veteran leadership. And the Xfinity Series doesn't really have that. It's Justin Allgaier, and Harrison Burton's the one guy with cup experience that's kind of gone back down as well recently, but he's still sometimes in that young phase a little bit, although he kind of got pushed around. And I know everybody wants to point to like one thing, like it's the cause of this is the win and you're in format, or the cause of this is all the overtimes, unlimited overtimes. If we would just fix this, I think just racing culture is starting so young is just out the I don't think it would matter if it was a season long or not, because on these restarts, whenever we get inside of 150 laps, depending on where we're at, we've seen it sometimes in the Cup Series with some of the COTA races. Like these guys get in a mindset where they're like, whenever there's a long run, the Xfinity race was great at the start. Whenever there was a long run, it was the best racing of the weekend. But then when these guys don't have the long run to let guys go and catch them and pass them back on the long laps, they get in this mindset of like, I have to get every spot that I can on these restarts. So that's when you start seeing guys just going into the first turn, dive bombing it 3-4 wide and shipping the front 4 rows out. That's one of the other things Austin Hill did. He hit like 3 cars into one another, and it sent the 4th car spinning and took out his teammate. And
at least he was apologetic for it, unlike the person we're going to get to.
Yeah, and then just again the whole racing culture, like so all the cautions. Sammy Smith keeps restarting on the outside, cannot get a good restart to save his life, and so we get down there under 5 to go, and he restarts behind Taylor Gray. And I don't think to that point they had made contact yet. I know apparently Taylor had been flipping off Sammy Smith, and that kind of made him mad. But like to that point in those latter stages, Taylor Gray was by far the best car. Sammy Smith had nothing for him from what we saw on the long run, and especially not on the restarts in the short run. And so he just, after 2-3 restarts of not going on the outside, he said, I'm just going to line up behind and just move Taylor out of the way. And if that, like, even if that race had stayed green and Sammy won that way and we didn't have all the other shenanigans, I still, like, that's just not a respectful way to win a race, to say, like, oh, this guy's beat me multiple times. He's proved that he's the better car. I'm not going to try to beat him anymore. I'm just going to get behind him and move him out of the way. Like, I had an issue with that. And then, like, I tweeted out before the last restart, I was like, I tell you what's going to happen. Taylor Gray's going to line up behind Sammy, do the same thing. I just didn't predict all the last lap stuff that we're going to get to in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Sammy Smith thing in a second. We wanted to separate it because I feel like there's a bigger issue, and then the Sammy Smith thing is the one that's being played a lot, but there's a bigger issue because it was throughout the race. Like, we saw these problems. It was throughout, like, and I kept asking drivers, and this was the question that stuck in my head after that race. It feels like every time we come back here, it steps up a level. It goes from it will just be the last 50 laps till it'll be the final third stage. Then it'll be like halfway through the second stage. Then it'll be the second stage. Then it'll be halfway through the first stage. And then it's like drop of the green flag. We're acting like it's the last lap. And that's an issue. Like, Sam Mayer did not care. He just said it's short track racing. He, like, trying to be Denny Hamlin. And, buddy, like, you got your ass kicked here. Like, I watched you get your ass kicked by Ty Gibbs because you did stuff like this. And I just don't get it. Like, I don't, like, Sam Mayer being unapologetic, and we'll get to the other guy who's being but, like, Austin Hill in the post race was at least kind of, like, aware of the situation where he's like, you could tell I always thought, like, I felt like at the end of the day, this was the track giving him one back. Like, he should have won that race with him and Creed. He was the better car. He was winning that race. Like, he should have punched his ticket to the championship for. Like, this was the track giving him one back. That happened. We've seen that time and time again in this sport. I think you could tell he's like, he mentioned how he wished he could have the conversation, like him and having a conversation with Allgaier, how he's like, you know, I saw a hole and I went for it. And I think the move at the end, like, I don't think it was egregious. His worst move, he was very apologetic for. He said he literally was like, I made a mistake. And to me, those mistakes can happen on the racetrack if you're apologetic for it after and you're like, I made this mistake. I didn't mean for this to happen. Like, the Xfinity Series is there for you to make those mistakes. That I don't have a problem with. So I have no problem with what Austin Hill did on Saturday. None whatsoever. His past is where it was the issue, but it looks like he's growing from it based off of how he acted post-race, where in that post-race press conference, he was like, I have no idea how to fix this. Do you black flag guys? What do you do? Like, he like, they didn't really talk about the win. It talked about, like, what do we do from here? And that's not what's supposed to be this conversation when it came to Austin Hill. So I give him a lot of credit there. All right, we got to move on to now the other topic. So Dalton, we wondered what was going to happen with Sammy Smith. Should I play the finish of the race and then we go into it, or do you have anything you want to talk about before we start?
I'm mostly going to go into the aftermath, but if you want to play it, sure.
Okay, give me one. I am pulling it up right now.
Yeah, so I'll just give the preamble before we play while you bring it up. So I mean, with Sammy Smith, obviously, like we already kind of talked about it, there was some Taylor Gray moved him out. He moved Taylor Gray out of the way, and Taylor Gray moved him out of the way for the lead, and it wasn't too egregious. It wasn't too bad. And then the final restart, the final straightaway. Yeah. So here's that restart. I mean, I guess I'll narrate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, but Sammy Smith, I mean, he's Gray's on the inside of Sammy Smith.
After Gray moved Smith out of the way.
After Gray moved him in the first corner, and he deliberately restarted behind him on the inside line on purpose so he could do just that. But that's because Sammy Smith got him first. At this point, into turn one of the white flag lap, it is just short track racing. And Taylor Gray clears him. It looks like he's about to win unless somebody ships. There's a whole car length in between them, and Sammy Smith ships it into the corner, absolutely ruins Taylor Gray's day. Doesn't nudge him out of the way and put him back into second. Absolutely ships him and wrecks himself in the process. So damages his own car and also damages Taylor Gray's car. That's millions of dollars of damage right there just because of that one little shove. I mean, you could argue Austin Hill was part of that too, but my point regardless, Sammy Smith did deliberately hit him in the rear. Now, here's the interesting part. Afterward, he wasn't very apologetic. He said I had to do it, which I don't think anybody agrees that you had to do that. You could have just sat there and gotten second place and, maybe nudge him at the next race. I don't know.
But they each gave each other a bump and run. Like the first two moves were classic bump and runs. Like right. I don't think
that was short. That was classic short track racing. I mean, that's almost expected, right? When Ty Gibbs absolutely wrecked his own teammate to win at Martinsville a couple years ago in the same series at the same track, but when he did that at Brandon Jones a couple years ago, everybody booed him because that was dirty. It was dirty racing. That is dirty racing. There is a fine line. You cannot wreck the guy. As I like to always say, you got to make it look sexy. You got to move him out of the way. You can't crash him. You can't crash his equipment. Now, here's the part that I feel like we need to debate. Did he deserve the penalty that NASCAR awarded him today? He was docked 50 points and fined, what was it, $25,000? Somebody fact check me on that. Was it $25K?
It was essentially, yes, $25K. And then Gray and Jeb Burton were both fined $5K.
Right, because of their altercation at the care center.
Yes, which...
Right.
I should tell that story. That's a great story. I have a great story about that.
Okay, we'll get to that. I just want to point out that Sammy Smith...
It's a similar penalty than what Cindric got at Coda. Let's just...
It is a similar penalty, but this one I don't think NASCAR should have given him. I don't think they should have penalized him, and here's why. Because exactly what Mike Neff was just saying. This sport is a self-policing, or at least it used to be a self-policing sport.
Should be.
It used to be, and it should be a self-policing sport. That is all gone. There's nobody in the sport anymore is going to wreck another person or get him back on the racetrack because, and maybe this is NASCAR's fault, because NASCAR has penalized the crap out of anybody that does any kind of repercussions on a racetrack. And because of that, everybody is fearful to pay somebody back. So they're just saying, well, I guess I got to take it and hope that NASCAR penalizes the guy, which NASCAR has been obliging. That shouldn't happen anymore. And here's why. It's because Sammy Smith, was it dirty driving? Yes. But he didn't right hook him. He didn't left hook him either. He sent it in and tried to hit him out of the way, but he didn't. Didn't he mean to wreck him? I don't know. But point being is that he didn't right hook the guy. He didn't left hook the guy. Now we have this gray line of inconsistency, and not to mention Austin Dillon was only docked 25 points last year.
But he lost the win.
But he lost the win. He lost the playoff berth, and you could probably argue that was what made up for the rest of the penalty.
That's probably bigger than the 50 points.
Yeah,
maybe. But I think if you're gonna do the same penalty, you gotta go the whole way, or keep it the same. Dock 25 points. 50 points is still pretty.
I would think.
Mike, go ahead, Mike.
I would think you should dock him to last place points. I don't like more than a race points.
The lead lap, like put him at the tail end of the lead lap.
He would have been the last, whatever it would have been to take him to the last car.
Which actually, because of this race, would have been like 30 something.
It'd have been like 31, 32 points, something like that. I'm fine with that. But again, I've always said, and I say this all the time, and I'm a hockey fan, treat it like a hockey fight.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in the pits.
Yep.
Let the two drivers settle it out. Swing all you want. When somebody hits the ground, you break it up and it's done. Anybody besides a driver jumps in, they're suspended for a year. Make it an egregious penalty so that they're not going to jump in. You let the two drivers work it out and you're fine. Because I can't tell you how many drivers I've talked to that are like, you know, I hate that I bumped him out of the way. I hate that this thing keeps going on because there's no end to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you get in a fight ends it. And that's where it can police itself if you actually, and I know NASCAR doesn't want to be, sure, let's put the boxing ring down here at the start-finish line and have a fight. But to be fair, let them settle it amongst themselves, keep the crew members out of it, let the drivers settle it, and I think we get rid of 85% of this crap that's going on.
So I differ a little bit on both of that. I think these types of things do need to be penalized. And as much as I hate to say this, I think they need to be penalized more frequently because especially, again, that Xfinity race, the driving was so rough. And I hate suggesting that NASCAR race control needs to make more calls from the roof and needs to have more gray area decisions and ball and strike calls because that's the last thing I want to happen is more controversy over, oh, why did so-and-so get a penalty and this guy didn't? But I kind of agree with Denny Hamlin whenever he said, like, there has to be some sort of an aggressive driving penalty. We've seen that. We've seen NASCAR start to use that in the race the last couple of years. I specifically remember last year, and to your point, Dalton, talking about this is like a self-policing sport. It's not like it hasn't been anymore because NASCAR the last couple of times has penalized those guys for policing themselves.
Yep.
Like Denny Hamlin was the one a couple of years ago. I was at Nashville last year and Lane Riggs, and I can't remember who he was racing with. It might have been Connor Jones or somebody in the 66. But like Lane, I think, got forced in the wall and he went in the next corner and they were racing hard, dooring each other, and he was just getting used up. So Lane went down in a turn 3 and just dumped whoever it was. And they held Lane Riggs 2 laps for rough driving, and the guy he was getting just absolutely used up by nothing, got off scot-free. And so I think like at that point, and that's just where it gets so difficult because it's like, well, at what point does NASCAR penalize someone for what sort of driving? Like you look at all those incidents on Saturday in the race, it's like which one of those were just honest mistakes, like Corey Day sliding in, taking out Harrison Burton. And then, I mean, I even think back to, I saw someone post a video of like, I think it was 2010 or 2011. I remember as a kid, like watching Jeff Gordon bump Kurt Busch out of the way and just your typical bump and run. And I guess Kurt had enough. He just came back on the straightaway and just floored it and wrecked Jeff Gordon on the front stretch. And I remember I was so mad, but like looking back on that, I'm like, I mean, it wasn't like that stuff happened every week, you know, but this stuff, not only does it happen almost like every week on these short tracks, it happens multiple times a race. And so it's like, would that today be a penalty? Look at stuff maybe like the Kyle Busch Dale Jr. incidents at Richmond, like do those qualify? And that's where, again, I hate like the gray area balls and strikes. But what I hate even more is these races are so just, there's so many wrecks and so many guys making just poor moves. Like it's, some of it is like the aggressive of like, oh, I'm going to go in here and just wipe somebody out. But other stuff is just, again, guys diving it in 3 wide when it's a low percentage move and they know 12 wheels turns better than 4 and they know someone's going to pay the price and they just don't care. And like those types of moves also, like I'm just sick of seeing that every week. And I'm even more sick of seeing NASCAR having to go back after the fact and like midweek, we're all waiting on the Tuesday penalty report. All right, are they going to penalize someone for this? Whereas if they just handle it during the race and park someone for a lap, 2 laps, or whatever, put them to the back of the field, whatever. Yeah, like if they just handle it there, we don't have to worry about, oh, what's Sammy Smith going to get midweek? Like what's going to happen to this person or that person? And that's just where, like, I hate the idea of being like, oh, we need more rules and we need more race control stepping in and interfering with things. But at the same time, with the win in your in system, with these aggressive drivers, with these cars the way that they are now, NASCAR has to have something there in the race to take care of it, so that we're not having to constantly go back and kind of like the whole like encumbered situation where we were waiting on Wednesdays to see like maybe so and so got disqualified. Like that was a whole mess that got fixed. I think this is the next one that needs to get looked at.
Yeah. So quickly, the fight story. So I'm at the care center. Dalton doing a great job running point for us at home. Being our lead reporter, I think is your title. I don't know.
Well, I have two. Track manager is the one I was doing at that particular moment.
Okay. But you asked me, can I go to the care center? Basically, like post race happens. I'm near the start finish line watching the finish. Honestly, had no idea what happened because my view was blocked. I was like watching the finish line thinking, oh, we're going to get a side by side for the win between either the 54, the 8, or the 7. And I was like, this is going to be cool. I want to see it. And then all of a sudden I just see Austin Hill and like giant white smoke. So that happens. I walk to the care center and I realize, oh, Jeb Burton's in there. I might have saw Jeb for a second. But you see this big dude with a cutoff Celsius shirt and a camera. And he gets essentially kicked out of the care center. And he goes, hey, they're fighting in there. And it's like me, I want to say Bob Pockers. Like that's the two people that are there right now. And he goes, he has no idea who they are. He's trying to describe. He's like, a guy's in orange, a guy's in yellow. And I'm like, well, I think it's like, I'm 95% sure it's Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray, but he's not describing them the correct way.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, he gets this like, had to be 10 seconds video of like just the hallway. And you can loosely see, like Jeb standing there. And then like in the back, just Sammy, like this is in the care center, Sammy and Taylor Gray yelling at each other. And I go, yeah, that's Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray. They're pretty mad at each other right now. And that's how I found out there was a fight in the care center, and with no context. But as for this conversation, I agree with you, Dalton. Mm-hmm. I don't think there should have been maybe a fine, like just assess a fine.
Yeah, something that's like it's almost like a slap on the wrist, but it's also like a nod to Taylor Gray to say, hey,
this is essentially a race suspension without being. I think with the new waiver rule being you have no ability to earn playoff points, you have to do like the worst thing possible to get a suspension now. I think the 50 points is now the new version of the suspension, which honestly probably hurts you more. 50 points is more than what you would get for winning a race, which is 40. Essentially, you lose a stage win in terms of points, a stage win and the win in terms of points. So you look at that. I agree with you. I think the biggest issue with this is that this needs to be policed better in the race, and we've seen it. I mean, the last time this happened, it took 28 minutes to decide that, and that can't happen. That was the Christopher Bell thing in Martinsville. But we have seen there are short tracks all across this country. It was announced today that the Cars, and we wanted to talk about it before the Legacy news dropped, that the Cars Tour is going to air their Wilkesboro race. I think the late model stock race on FS1 on Friday night. That's really cool. And in their series, they have this like set rule. If you're involved in the wreck, you get sent or you cause a wreck, you get sent to the back. It's like a balls and strikes rule. And implement something like that. Because they're going to be way more careful. Because they still allow the bump and run in the car store. But if you go egregious, you just get sent to the back. And that's going to teach them a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to bump a guy, like these guys know how much force to give to move someone up a little or a lot, or how much to hit them to spin them out too.
And Sammy and Taylor did it right. Like they did it right. Like imagine that the Sammy, if Taylor Gray won that race with those two moves, Sammy Smith would be upset. He would be pissed. He would probably give a great interview. Because honestly, his interview afterwards is like, I don't care. He's kind of embracing a villain role, and I thought it was really cool. It was the most personality I've ever seen out of Sammy Smith. And I was like, from a character point of view, this is a good, interesting. But it gives us. It's like, all right, this was a good finish. Like this was a solid, clean-ish finish. Way better than what we saw. And I think the only way you're going to deter this and teach it. The key word is teach it, because the penalty, like this ain't going to teach it. Like people talking about Dale Jr. has to park in for multiple races. I think we have a comment in here about that. He can't do that. From a financial point of view, the way the finances work now in NASCAR, and sponsorship is such a big thing, and these teams, especially the elite teams in the Xfinity Series, are such in razor margins. They can't do that. They just can't. So I think in-race penalties is the way to do it. Treat it, especially at short tracks.
And
that's what they did in the Truck Series. That's what worked. They did it in the Truck Series. Caleb mentioned it. The rough driving penalties in the Truck Series. And yes, it's going to be gray and it's going to be controversial. But over time, that's what's going to work. Because if you're not going to let a driver retaliate, then you might as well police it during the race.
Yes.
Because that's going to work way better than the discourse is going to be way better than we're having 2 days of what's wrong with the series, what are they going to do, and then they do this penalty and it's never consistent.
It even could be kind of black and white too, because it's like, I mean, whether you mean to or not, if you send a guy around, you're going to the back. What were you going to say, Neff?
I just want to know how many guys got called to the trailer after the race.
None. Well,
nobody.
I think
you
it's
had that many incidents that obviously were crappy driving, and 0 people get called to the trailer.
I wonder that's because the guys that were supposed to be called to the trailer got called to the care center. So,
Trey, I was looking for you walking down pit road behind Sammy Smith.
I was not. I was not there. That was yeah. So I did have when Steven made the video of Taylor Gray. Like, don't worry. I had some PTSD of when Taylor Gray got moved out of the way the first time, and I thought Sammy Smith was going to win. Of the last time I was at Martinsville, and I had to chase Taylor Gray to victory lane to confront Christian Eckes. I had a little PTSD of that moment. I did.
I was there when Kenseth took out Logano at the care center, and there were 2 NASCAR officials at the care center. When they walked out of the care center, they were taken straight to the trailer.
Yeah, well,
so you got to get these guys to pay the piper in person, in face-to-face conversations with the people that are making the calls in this sport.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. The topic you've all been waiting for. Caleb, Denny Hamlin has now tied Rusty Wallace. Just, I'll let you start.
Yeah, since Massey skipped, we had to have the conversation. Is Rusty Wallace, I guess, is he under threat? Is Denny Hamlin now a better driver than Rusty Wallace? They have the same number of wins. Denny has, I think, more Daytona 500 championships.
Yes, 3 more Daytona 500 champions.
Yeah.
Championship.
3-0.
I guess
3-0.
I guess we say that in jest, but I do want to ask, Rusty Wallace got that 55th win at Martinsville. Turned out to be his last career win. Denny Hamlin, number 55 at Martinsville. But he seems really driven. He's determined to get to that 60 number. I guess the question I wanted to phrase is kind of 2-part. Like, do you think he gets 60, and how far do you think Denny Hamlin ends up going?
I think 60. I think he'll get to at least 60. If I put the over under at like 59.5, I'm taking the over. I think he seems so like, Bianchi brought up a point of like, what was it, the teardown, or asking Joe Gibbs and ask Chris Gale, like, 43, 44 is where you see a dip. Like, it happened to Truex. I think that would be a different reason. It happened to Jimmy, but I think Kevin Harvick was competitive till he was 50.
Yeah.
And he had his best season at what, 47? Like how old was he when he won? He won 9 races. That would have been.
Well, Trey, let me tell you, and I'm going to tell you in the most interesting way I can possibly tell you, because boy, how much am I going to tell you?
He's got
There's
a
gonna be a
tight.
lot of me telling you here in the next couple of seconds, and don't
Let me
worry.
talk.
Years finish.
But it was definitely 44 years old.
So, and Denny Hamlin is 44 years old. And Kevin Harvick won 2 races the next year. I'm not saying Hamlin's going to win 9 this year. But it seems to me that Denny, every sport has their, guide-defying father time. The NFL had Tom Brady. The NBA has LeBron James. Tennis might have Novak Djokovic to some degree. Maybe this is what Denny's legacy is going to be. He's going to defy time. He's going to be, well, obviously, the guy he gets compared to the most kind of defied father time with Mark Martin. So I think he's still got it. I think he'll get to 60. He just seems.
If I had to pick an over/under, I would put it at 64.5. I think I think he's got a real shot at 65. Which is
just
10
think
races over the next 3 years.
Unlike like the Jimmys, the Truexes of the world, even Harvick to some degree, as you get older, I think the hunger is where another reason why you don't obviously father time is undefeated, but the hunger, the will to do whatever it takes. And it seems to me Denny hasn't lost that. And it's not here to say that Truex, Jimmy, and Harvick weren't trying every week, but their legacies were set in stone. They were set in stone. They really couldn't enhance it. If Truex and Harvick added another title, I don't think it enhances it that much. Obviously, Jimmy's the GOAT in the GOAT conversation. And even if he added the 8th title, his argument just gets stronger. Denny has so much more he could get if he gets the 60 wins, if he gets the championship. It feels like his hunger is different than these drivers at this age, which leads me to think he might be able to do it. And honestly, we just never know when it will end. And so I'll bet on the history of Denny Hamlin at this point.
I've read Denny Hamlin's mind. I've seen his future. He's going to he's got 2 more years in Gibbs equipment. He's not going to win a championship, but he's going to get to 60 racing in Gibbs equipment. And then he's going to go to 2311 and run in that team for a couple years until he retires. I give him about
who's he going to replace at 2311? Because
Riley Hurst.
Well, no,
Nice call.
I was going to, there's another guy I'm betting to replace Riley Herbst, which to go back to our first conversation, can we go back? What date was the Corey Haim announcement for 2311? And then what was the date of the Legacy buying that 3rd charter? I wonder if those were close together. I'm going to Google that while y'all talk.
Yeah, take care of that. So, and the one point that I would make out about Jimmy, and it's one of the things somebody made this comment to me
February
4 or 5 months
23rd
ago in a discussion group. Jimmy had a huge wreck at Pocono in 2017. He had won the week before at Dover. That was his last win. After that wreck at Pocono, where he wrecked really hard, he was never the same. And I honestly think if Denny can avoid a giant wreck, I think he could win 10 races over the next 3 years.
Also, I want to note February 23rd is when the Haim announcement was. And then a week later. So that means.
And then March 3rd was when they did the deal.
Yeah. So about a week later, because there's 5 days left in March.
Yeah,
or February.
Yeah. Interesting.
So
just to be fair, back to the Rusty Denny thing. I mean, Rusty's got a championship. Till Denny gets a championship, Rusty's always got that to hold over.
That's a dumb argument to say the championship thing because of the format.
See, Rusty Wallace only won the championship where there was only 29 races. I mean, does that really matter?
And also, to be fair, Denny runs in a time when there are 20 cars that can win every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
When Rusty won his championship, there were 5. You had 5 guys winning almost all the races.
Neff,
now you got 20 dudes that
Neff, you have to remember the bit
every weekend.
Neff, we're only picking one side. You have to remember the bit.
He is remembering the bit.
Good. I'm just being sure.
Rusty Wallace didn't have to race against Cody Ware, is all I'm saying.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah, he didn't have to race against guys like Cody Ware and
Zane Smith.
And Zane Smith and Chris Buescher. Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. You can't use the championship. I honestly think that it's going to be complicated because basically all of Denny's career has been in the chase format. And I think he's had a level of consistency that is of the likes of the all-time greats, even Rusty. That you can't what if Denny, if it was the old system that Rusty was in, I have a confident feeling that Denny would have a title. But he's had maybe the worst luck that we've seen. He is the NASCAR version of Charles Barkley. He's so good.
When he stepped on his PP that one year at Homestead, that was crazy because he had every chance of winning that championship, and was it third lap into the race? Freaking wrecked.
Yeah, it was something nuts.
That was bizarre.
So, and that's just it's a hard. I lean Denny Hamlin, but that's because I never saw Rusty Wallace really race. I did, but I didn't. At the same time, plus the crown jewels, you could argue the best crown jewel race driver is Denny Hamlin. He's in that, in terms of that big race, you need to win a crown jewel. Denny might be on the short list of guys you want to pick because he's, 3 Daytona 500s, multiple Southern 500s. Those are, the toughest races to win. So,
how many breaks
Dalton, what do you think? 1? 0? 0.
I think it's 0.
He had one and again stepped on himself.
He had one and his tire blew. Remember him and Harvick? Yeah. Him and Harvick were battling
because he pushed it too hard instead of driving smart.
I don't know about that. I think it was just bad luck. Because I think it was on a restart or something. It was something nuts. All right, Dalton, what do you think?
Yeah, in all, look, really, the only thing that matters here is that Denny Hamlin is 100% better than Rusty Wallace. Exactly. Anybody who disagrees is completely wrong.
Is a quitter.
Especially anybody who used to be a fan of Rusty or is a fan of Rusty Wallace. And anybody who has the same letter as both of their initials. So I think in all, though, Denny Hamlin's legacy is going to be seen by his win count. And it's the same thing with Rusty Wallace. He'll be a Hall of Famer. But the problem is when you think of some of the best drivers in NASCAR history, give me the top 5. I would even want to say top 10 best drivers in NASCAR history. Is Rusty Wallace on that list?
No.
I don't think so either. And no disrespect to Rusty Wallace. No disrespect to any of his fans. That I was kidding before. No disrespect to any of that. But Denny Hamlin has done so much. He's won 3 Daytona 500s, and that's fantastic. That's really impressive. He's won all these races. But he's not at that level yet. And he's got to win a championship to do it. I hate saying it because I know he's been close, and I know everyone's been saying it all this time. And it's tough to win a championship nowadays, especially with the playoff system, but that's what it's going to take.
So interesting. We can actually look at a list. The Athletic did a list of the top 75 drivers. So I'm currently looking at it to see. So they have Hamlin 18th, which he in the panel they have him ranked as high as, and this was when he had 48 wins. High as 11, low as 39th, and they have, as I get to it, Rusty 12th. So highest is 11th, lowest is 28th. So it's a fair comparison. Just and this was a couple years ago. This was the 75th anniversary of NASCAR. So, all right, long show. I mean, sorry this was long. We got some bad news at the start. Michael Massey decided to quit on us. He was so upset about we were gonna have this Rusty conversation. He quit on us. He's starting his own music tour, and of course today's April 1st, and so April Fools. But
and I bet all you people who are really fooled.
I bet all of you got
really
Yeah, everybody
here totally
all
believes
the diehard Massey fans
by Trey's completely believable phone call at the beginning of this podcast.
I thought I did a pretty good job.
Save Massey t-shirts.
You never paused in between sentences. You have to pause in between sentences to let the other person speak.
That's true. I didn't practice this. Okay.
And also, I saw your phone. Like it was on your home screen.
Okay. I wasn't
You didn't
trying.
even try.
What is? Hey, I could tell you. I'm gonna tell you a secret now. Tom Bowles texted me. He was like, "Can you send me the link? I'm gonna fire you guys mid-episode as an April Fool's joke," and he didn't even show up.
Oh man,
That'd
that'd have been funny.
That is so.
Well, it would have been
disappointing.
great because what I would have done is just kicked us all out and said, "Okay, you finish the podcast."
Yeah, there you go, Tom. You get the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, we would all left and been like, okay, 20-minute podcast today.
All right, so, all right, yes. So I am. I'm a better actor typically if I plan things. Go back to our Saturday Night Live cold open we did. But that will do it for this episode. Anything you want to plug before we get on out of here? Caleb, are you writing about the lawsuit this week?
No, I wrote the last 2 weeks, so I think Samuel's got it. If there's any updates with the 2311 lawsuit, I'm not writing about the front row, but I'll have Legacy
Motor Club.
Yeah, sorry, all these teams and lawsuits. It's like quarter of the field now. But I will have 4 burning questions ahead of this weekend's throwback events, and then Stock Car Scoop after Darlington this weekend. So,
Okay.
Dalton, what do you got?
Man, I guess I gotta find another guy for thinking. All right, yeah, because I'll be at Darlington this weekend. So
Wait,
I'll find out Christopher. What?
Yeah, you will be at Darlington this weekend. I knew that.
I will be at Darlington this weekend. Yes. So I guess I gotta find somebody else for thinking out loud. That's okay. Yeah, but follow our coverage for Darlington this weekend. I also have an article coming out tonight. I hope to God within the next hour, but not likely. So we'll see what happens there. So stay tuned for all that.
And your Daniel Hemrick interview.
That's what
air.
Yeah, BTC or BTH. Yeah. So bringing the heat with Brian Nolan will air tomorrow. It's going to have this amazing.
It's actually with Trey Lyle.
Bringing the heat with Trey Lyle. That's bringing the heat with Brian Nolan, but not actually with Brian Nolan. It'll be with Trey Lyle because Brian Nolan is lazy.
I would say that, but I'm not going to say that. Oh, I have an alarm going off.
Yeah, it's Brian Nolan calling you. No, it's
Massey's trying to let you know he's quitting.
Yeah,
might actually be quitting now.
It'll have a Daniel Hemrick interview that I had in Las Vegas a week before he won his first race. So Homestead. I'm sorry.
Coincidence? Drivers teams.
So drivers teams reach out to me, hit me up.
Neff, anything you want to plug?
I'm looking forward. I'm actually going to be on the mic this weekend at Florence Motor Speedway on Saturday. So I'm excited to be back on the mic. I haven't done the mic in a year, so I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, enjoy Darlington, man. Embrace the history. 75 years of that racetrack.
I love throwback weekend.
And
I love this weekend.
It is just it exudes history. Mm-hmm. And when you're there, soak it all up. Enjoy it.
That was fun.
This is like my 6th or 7th time I'm going to be there, so I'm excited.
I hope Dalton has a throwback fit.
Well, if you want to go see a great photo, Dalton and I rocked some throwback T-shirts and our mustaches for Throwback Weekend, which I'm not doing the mustache. Oh, I did. I mean, I was pretty good. It was a pretty good mustache. I have to admit. Dalton's is better, but he has to keep that because he's a military man.
Got to keep it short.
There you have
it. But I did the mustache and I rocked. So, but that will do it for this episode. And then we'll have the watch party this weekend and I'll be back for that. TBD on who's joining us. I have to look at who's available. So TBD on that. Dalton won't be there. I'll guarantee that. But that will do it for this episode of Happy Hour. Thanks so much, Caleb. Thanks so much, Dalton. Thanks so much, Neff. Shout out to Massey. Oh, what am I doing? I teased the guest. I have to mention it. So Michael Massey will be back next week. And our guest, I think I have high expectations. Our guest next week will be the man, the myth, the legend. Kenny Wallace is joining us next week on Happy Hour. And we have another big guest lined up for the week after. So we're
asking about his new tricycle.
Well, hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast and
put his wife on the back of it in pajamas. It's a great look.
Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he listens. If he listens to this podcast, and then realizes we're joking when we talk about his brother. But other than that, we're pumped for next week. But then we got another big guest the week after. I still have that lined up, right?
I don't even know what you're talking about, so we'll talk about that after this, I guess.
I'm teasing. I'll tease it. All right. That will do it for this episode of Happy Hour. Signing off for now. Thanks so much for listening.
Peace out.